greetings and welcome, my brother.
Rastafari, yes, sir.
We're here to really get some insight into how, well, the journey of Levi, from a person who came out of Jamaica to become one of the most successful entrepreneurs, not within the Jamaican diaspora, but as in England as well. And the purpose of this is really to provide information so our students at Cape can get an understanding of what the process is like. I mean, these youths are using so many different ideas, but yes, we do not have enough examples that these youths readily access to get, examples of how you really move forward. So that is the fundamental objective of this. How do we archive real live cases of our people and their journey to successes and the lessons that they have learned, so the future generation can also learn and become as successful as they should be as well. So again, we really give thanks to the opportunity and give thanks to the time. I mean, I know the work is hectic.
Yes, it is.
But you always seem to find time.
Well, I think the main thing is because I'm really enjoying what I'm doing still. I think the part of the whole thing that we're going to talk about is how do you form a business that is your passion as well. And for me, you're lucky I don't have my guitar with me. Because usually when I'm talking to a lot of bankers or whether it's school or whether I will still have my guitar. If that's not passion, I don't know what is.
Exactly. And so, but I think we know the journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step.
Yeah.
And your first step was not where you reside now, it was really in Jamaica. But give us some insight as to how you grow and what would have influenced you in terms of whom you are as a being.
Well, the first step was barefoot, It was barefoot. I remember stepping as a 9-year-old boy and in my grandmother's frock tail, as them say, I was always around her. When my parents left, I had no knowledge of my mother and father at the age of 8 or 9 when they left to go to the UK, because the grandmother always had the charges back then. The mothers and fathers left to go and seek work and to send for the family. And being the youngest, I didn't even know what was happening. I never knew that I would never see my mother and father again until I was practically a big man. But my grandmother, she instilled everything in me as a Clarendonian woman, as a Maroon woman. As a Maroon woman, she decided to teach the youngest one things that she knew. And a lot of that to do with things in the kitchen and cooking and lifestyle and how you can be a man at that stage, because I never went to school. Eventually, when I got up into England at the age of 12, I couldn't even spell my own name, and my name only had 5 letters in it. So show you how bad it was. So the first journey was really a terrible one, because you can imagine reaching up to England where everybody had gone through primary school, and by the age of 12 you're in secondary school, and you literally know your life. And here was me the only coolest thing that I could do is climb a tree faster than anybody else. I could walk up a buckler without a opener. I could do all the cool things that young kids at that age see it as a cool thing, but when you talk about the curriculum and things like that, I was nowhere near that. So hence the name Levi Roots, because I found out that Levi in the Bible is the scribe. And I so wanted to catch up with everybody else that I was always seen with a book. Everywhere you see me, even though I couldn't read them, but I had a book in my hand. And so people started to see me and say, you function like a Leviticus, So you are not Keith, which was my name.
Exactly.
You are who you are, and so the first thing when I got to like 14, 15 is to get rid of the name Keith, because I realized that is a Scottish man. He's not a Maroon man from via Africa, via Jamaica, via Clarendon. So that's what my journey was, one of discovering myself when everybody else already found themselves. So a late discoverer.
But if I think about it now, entrepreneurship is really about how one uses innovation and creativity to actualize ideas, And a key thing that we set to students is that one must have confidence as well in idea, and self-discovery is a crucial component. So really your entrepreneurial journey started as early as in Clarendon.
Absolutely. I mean, when my grandmother was teaching me these things, I didn't really fully understand why she was doing this. But I think by the time you reach to the age of 11, 12, whatever you learn back then, supposed to stay with you for life.
Exactly.
Because those are the skills that you will need to take you forward. And if I had born in any other country, I'm not dissing any other country, but I truly believe that if I had born anywhere else, when I got up to England and being so backward in the curriculum, without my Jamaicanism, I don't think I would be here now as the person who I am. I really think that it was that kind of helped me to catch up so quickly.
I think that's an important point you're making, because again, in our region, we have seen so many persons that have done so great in the areas that they are focusing on, and a consistency among those persons is acceptance of their own Caribbeanness. So there's a Trinidad or a Bajan or a Jamaican, accepting that element is crucial. And while it's an interview on entrepreneurship, I'm just plug it by saying what CXC is doing, because CXC as an institution, I realize, have ensured that your own curriculum reflects that Caribbeanness, and hence the importance of these kinds of interviews, so youths can realize that yes, we're not only good in the sports and the arts, we're good in the enterprise. We need to catch up in the governance,
absolutely,
but we're good in what we decide that we want to do. So let us just think about now the idea, because you as a young person, now you're there in England, you're looking at school, but you still remember all the things that you learned from your grandmother, because I know they mentioned in the discussion earlier, the kitchen.
Yes.
Yeah, the kitchen and the fractal, and remember you're the wash belly, you're the last one. So you're there in the kitchen. I would say though, when you're in England and you're looking at what is happening, what drove you, what gave you this idea that, well, I can establish an enterprise in whatever the idea was?
It was the fear of failure. It was the fear of failure that even now in my later life I've got to, I don't know, I've mentioned it to you before, but I've taken that word of mistake out of my vocabulary. I don't really use it anymore,
Right.
I use it, I call it feedback now.
Good.
So instead of you say you make a mistake, you get a feedback of something. And I always wanted not to fail as a young person, because as I said, I came late.
Yes.
I was a late challenger. So for me, it was really wanting to do it. And having a plan going forward is something that I will always speak about, because I had a plan from when I was very small. I wanted to catch up with everybody else. That was my plan. So eventually when I did, for me, when I left school and I realized that I wasn't any less smarter than my school friends who had been to primary school and gone through the whole thing, I found that I was perhaps on par with them because of my tenacity to learning. So it was the fear of failure that keep me going, that now I can now take out that word failure.
Exactly.
Because I feel that I have proven myself now, not to anybody else, I've proven myself to me that I've actually caught up with what the system say that you're supposed to be when you're a man. Which is somebody who is moving forward, somebody who is forward thinking, and I really believe that's why I'm now.
It seems then from a discussion that thinking, having that kind of entrepreneurial thought process is very important, and having something that motivates one, yes? So much so, as an entrepreneur, where we know that entrepreneurs really do not see problems, they see opportunities.
Yeah.
And you're saying that just like entrepreneurs, failures and what we refer to as mistakes are really learning experiences that bring us forward. But the exact idea you have in terms of what you do in terms of business, how did those things emerge? What are some of the goals that you have for yourself?
Well, first thing is there are two things was going on there. And one hand was the music, because the music was something that I was very passionate about. Music was in my family. My grandmother was a fantastic singer within the church. She used to do a duet with my grandfather, who also had a great voice. My mother has a great voice as well in her church. She was choir leader in the UK up there. So I find that music was in the blood. But the second thing was what my grandmother was teaching me was about the food. But I didn't kind of, get the sums that you could merge the two together. Because I don't think nobody could. Music and food, who had ever done that before? So I went along throughout life thinking that whatever I'm going to do, or if I'm going to get famous, or if I'm going to make a business, it's going to be through music. And I failed for many years with that. I didn't get to the part where I feel I deserve to do with the music. But it wasn't until later on in life when I got the idea to actually work with the next passion, but not to forget the music, which was a bigger part of my life, So I wanted to just put these two things together. So literally when I'm at work, I'm at play. I could never be bored, because if I'm in the kitchen, got some food doing along, then if you ask me 10 minutes, it's an hour and 10 minutes I'll be there.
Exactly.
The same thing if I have my guitar and I'm breaking for a song and you call me, Levi, Rose, come and go out now. I say, yeah, 10 minutes, man.
See.
You know it's an hour and 10 minutes I'm there playing. So the two passions, merging them together. And I think that for me was when I discovered, that this is my business. This is how I can incorporate everything that is me.
Yes.
You know, I wouldn't need to pretend. Because as I was saying to you earlier, if you ask me to pretend to be somebody like an actor, I probably find it difficult. But ask me to play Levi Roots, who I am, in my own soul, and be comfortable in my own skin.
Yes.
That's what helped me, and it was putting the two passions together.
So the idea was really to use what you have as your natural passion, because
yes.
it means you have been committed to this process to establish an enterprise. Yes, and but the opportunity, what signaled to you that the opportunity existed, that you as a Caribbean, Jamaican person who love music more than food, yes, could merge them and make it become something real, which is what it is.
Yeah, well, once you realize what you're good at,
yes.
you know, I think that's very important. Yes. I think sometimes schools, peer pressure, parents will always try to push you in a direction. You know, I come from the generation where them tell you that you're supposed to be the lawyer, doctor, Indian, but don't be the Indian, be the chief and this thing like that. There's no value in being the Indian. That is where I come from, the saying. But I realized that you have to be you. Wherever you end up, you need to make the best of who you are. I'd never thought that putting music and food together would get me to where I am now, and it would make me feel comfortable in business. And I think that's fair enough. You're not asking anybody to, you know, to go outside of their thinking. You just need to be comfortable with where you are at. And I didn't want to be the doctor or you know, the chief as my parents, but my father would have loved to see me be, you know, an engineer, which was one of the first jobs that I ever did when I left school. I started as an engineer, and my father clapped and everything and thought that was fantastic. But inside of me, I wasn't enjoying it. You know, when I go home, I pick up the guitar and I start singing and write lyrics, and that's where I felt comfortable. So it's just really honing what is blessed to me. Take it and own it, and say that this is, and run with it. This is who I am.
When you're in England, what prompted you to say, okay, if I get into this thing of this food thing with the sauce, it will work?
Well, 2004, 2005, the bottom kind of fell out of the music business, the reggae music in Europe. I'm sure the world knows that. This was the time of the lyrical content wasn't, you know, digestible to a lot of people in the UK that was coming from reggae. And even though my music was never that, my music was always roots and culture, but I think all reggae suffered within that time, from about 2002 going forward. And I found that this passion of mine, nobody wanted to hear it, you know, because of what other people was doing. And it was a time that, you know, the moment you see in the cartoon when the little bulb come on top of your head, like an idea. The music had fallen out, and I found myself working in a plumber's yard as a kind of a storeman. And the year before, I was working with Maxi Priest and James Brown and Black Uhuru and all these great people on stage. And one day I was in the storeroom in the plumber's yard, and you know, then thinking that, Lord have mercy, what am I doing here? This is not really me, you know, this is not my passion. You know, I need to be my passion. So I did, you know, the thing that them do in the movie where you walk into the office of the manager, you take off your coat and you throw it down and you tell him, say, I'm out of here, I'm doing something else. And I did exactly that, you know, just feeling that now is the time to put these two things together. I'm not a plumber's man. That's for somebody else. That's a fantastic opportunity for someone else. Who likes plumbing, but it wasn't for me who was passionate about music and food. And I thought to put them together. First to create the sauce, which I had, which was my grandmother's kind of recipe and her whole vibes of a relish that she used to make when we were like young kids. And I recreated it for the Notting Hill Carnival up there. And the Carnival, I got to explain, is perhaps the second biggest street festival in England outside of Rio. So it's massive. So every year I would go there with the sauce. But it didn't have a name. So when I thought that I'm going to do the sauce now, this is how the music come into it. So I went around to all of my friends them to try to get a name for it, to say that I'm going to do the sauce now, because them all know me do it at the carnival for at least 20 years. People tell me, them say, Levi, call it after your grandmother, and call it Miriam Small Scotch Bonnet Pepper Sauce. I call it, you know, Levi Roots' Jamaican Fiery Sauce, all things. But when I said to them, look, I want to call it reggae sauce, you know, them say it too black, it too Jamaican, and it too Rasta. That's what them say. But then again, I look at myself and I say, but I'm me that. You know, black, Jamaican, and a Rasta. So for me to disregard what everyone was saying, I think that's a big part in my story. Because if you have everybody telling you one thing, and you are so passionate about something that you went with it, no matter what they're saying. Even experts were coming up and saying, don't call it reggae sauce. But if I'd call it anything else, it wouldn't be me.
Well, you see, there's a calculated risk, and there's an next trait of an entrepreneur.
Yes,
you know, you're consistent, persistent, and you take calculated risk.
Absolutely.
And of course, that's work because the brand that you know have is one of the biggest brands, not only in England, but across the globe.
And it comes back to saying your point about you have to be proud of who you are.
Yes.
Because I think when venture capitalists saw me and they saw the fact that this man is being himself. He's not pretending. This is who he is. I think if I'd gone up and spoken like many people had gone in front of them before, and you know, you talk and you tell them about it, you've got a fantastic sauce and it's brilliant and it's blah blah blah. You know, that's
but give the youth some insight because they might not have seen on YouTube the lions then, but give them an insight as to what actually occurred, because that is part of the opportunity that you had seen as well.
But again, I'd never seen the program. It's a venture capitalist program on television called, there's a version of it called Shark Tank, and there's many versions. You have Shark Tank, and then you have Dragon's Den, which is the UK version, and it's in Africa in different names. But basically, this is 5 multimillionaires who self-made multimillionaire, and which is a particular. They're not corporate millionaires. They're people who come from similar background like myself, and they are looking to invest in other people. But the key thing is, they will always want a lot of your business, you know. And the format is that you have to go up on the show and you have to make a presentation of whatever you are trying to sell, the pitch, and trying to engage these dragons and engage them in what you have to do. But I'd never seen the program. I'd never heard of it or anything like that, but I was approached by one of the organizers. One day when I was at an exhibition, I had my guitar and I had written this song about the sauce because I'd call it reggae sauce, so naturally, you know, we as Jamaican, we write a song about everything. So I'd written this song about the sauce of what goes in it and all my business plan and everything. Instead of talking, I would sing. So I was at an exhibition and I had the guitar and I was singing, and a lady came and she tapped me on the shoulder. She says, "Levi, it's fantastic. Love the song, love the sauce. We would like to invite you on the Dragon's Den." But she expected me to know everything about the Dragon's Den. But I'm not really a TV man still, so I never really knew it. But anyway, she convinced me to take her business card, and I decided not to look it up. When my kids told me what it was about, I totally decided to go in eyes wide shut. And for 6 months between the time that she discovered me and tell me about the program, I had to really go into myself. I don't want to see it. I don't want nobody to tell me about it, because this thing about failure or clear and present danger is there in front of you. If you don't know what it is, then you have to be perfect and clean before you go forward. And maybe if I had known about these dragons, if I had known what they are, I don't think my pitch would have been the same. I think it would have been different. I don't think I would have gone with the guitar. Maybe because I would have seen how it's done, and I would have been like everybody else and went to conform with how it is, with the status quo.
I don't want to break it up, but I think it's an important point to make right there, because when you're teaching entrepreneurship, the thinking is that getting people out of what they call a cognitive level 1 thinking, which is how you are socialized to think, is one of the key things to come up with innovative ideas. So it's not to use existing information, but come up with new
ideas,
and so you have a clean slate. So I think it is crucial that persons recognize that your own ideas, and it's the second time you're making that point. First, when you got by the name, and you got suggestions from your colleagues, and you made a suggestion, and you said, no, I'm not using that approach, you're departing. So independence of thought, knowledge of self, accepting self is crucial.
Well, the thing about being confident in your own skin, because again, like I was saying, I can only play me the best, and I can't play anybody else. So this came as a part of it, why I didn't want to tarnish that image that I have of me, of a confident person, confident with my music, confident in my sauce, because I've been doing it for 20 years at the carnival. So I knew people liked it. So with these two things together, I didn't want to cloud that. So going on the show and going in front of these investors, they're probably thinking that what this Rastaman are doing here, because nobody has never gone on there and sang a song to them and gone on there and been natural. But investors are not looking for perfectuality. They're not looking for you because you're finished. Because in some ways, and people will see it when they look at the clip of me on the show, they will see that my pitch was actually perhaps one of the worst on there when it comes to talking about how you pitch and the things and the figures and things. Because I got all my figures wrong. I was sweating profusely on the show at one point when the figures were wrong and the investors started to tear apart the whole thing now and start to see the bare bottom of what your plan is. But I wasn't looking for that. The minute I came up with my conviction and started to sing the song, they are looking for something with a USP, a unique selling point.
Exactly.
That is what it is about entrepreneurship and your pitch, and you need to have that difference. If there is no difference, they're not going to invest in it. And if you think that you want to go and be perfect, they'll be thinking, then what the hell do you need me for? You know, they want a rough diamond so they can shine it. And fix it up and do it. So even though I didn't know of these things, because remember I was saying that I was just being me because I was good at being me. But I learned now that's the reasons why they made the investment.
Exactly.
It's because I went as me, I wasn't trying to be perfect, and they weren't looking for perfectuality. And the rest, as them say,
so the concept, it's clear though, the opportunity was there for you in terms of driven by your to invest in something that was uniquely different.
Yeah.
Yes? And so the concept, therefore, that you are presenting of self came out in the name of the sauce, which is reggae sauce. But what makes the reggae sauce different from every other sauce?
Yes,
that
good point. Yeah. Good point. Well, again, this was about the man himself. People know in the millions that are buying my products. No. We as a company truly believe that they're not buying the product itself per se. They are buying a piece of Levi roots and who I am.
Yes.
In some ways, they are trying to get some of what I am and what I represent.
Yes.
We get so many emails from people saying they've never tried Caribbean food because this is now a mainstream product in the UK, the only one which is truly mainstream. And when I say mainstream, I'm talking from John O'Groats, which is the top part of England, the furthest you can go, down to the bottom end of it called Land's End.
See.
You know, and that's where the demographics of the sauce is. So people tell me that they weren't comfortable with Caribbean food before. But it's the reasons why they are comfortable now because they see this Rastaman with conviction on the television, and now they have the confidence now to actually to get over the irks that them did have about Caribbean food and being able to take it because of the person, not because of, now them know that the food is great, yes. But it took them to see the passion and the conviction to be able to get into
it's
that.
really about genuineness, yes, and ensuring that what you do is a part of how you live. Again, for the students who are listening, remember, you know, you have had this in the field testing among some of the most critical and crucial persons who will, when we are questioning people's food, you know, we are very serious about that Caribbean people. So if you could survive for 20 years in that marketplace, you had passed the testing period, the tasting period you have passed amongst the Caribbean people. So you know how to get it into the mainstream. And the vehicle, part of the vehicle was really, as I said before, the passion, the commitment, and the genuineness of that product. Yes? So the resources that were required, because you had the sauce, you had all the passion, you had all the intangible things, the tangible things. What were some of the resources that you needed? Of course, I went to the den, so finances were important. But what are some of those things that you had needed to get this to move on?
Well, before, it's important to mention before Dragon's Den and talk about resources, because the resources there was one truly of a miraculous thing, because it was about families. You know, I have 7 children, and it was turning to my children to be able to say, let's do this together as a family. And I think that's the most interesting part of my story, because I remember turning up at the carnival every year and everybody would see this Rastaman with his children and, you know, and doing this thing, and I'll get my guitar out every now and again because most of my children are musical, and you know, and we'll be singing as a family and we'll be doing it, and that gave us the impetus to keep it going. That even at the time when things were going bad, you know, because when we started out, I was selling it just in my local Brixton in a bottle of, in a small bottle. We had gone onto the internet and created our own label, and really everything, all the resources that we need to do, we created it as a family in a smaller way. We did it all at home. We investigate ourselves on the internet, and we found out how to make labels. We printed them off and we put it in the bottles, and we made it entirely at home. So the resources before the investment was really about families.
Yes.
And I know this thing about families in business is not a good thing, but for me it worked at that point to get me to a next level. But after the investment, the resources, wow, that turned out to be something that I wasn't even expecting, because the magnitude.
Yes. So the scaling. So you had the market, you moved to.
The magnitude of how it scaled upwards was truly fantastic. It was something that only dreams are made of. Because coming out of the Dragons then and realizing now that people wanted my products in not the hundreds, not the thousands, but in the millions. And at the time, we didn't have no resources to be able to create that, because it was straight after the show was on. Everybody wanted everything to do with Levi Roots. I mean, millions of people wanted the sauce. So the thinking now of having to change from saying that, because the business plan was going to the Dragons and was saying at £50,000, I wanted to create a small factory and to be able to do it and rare. But the demands came so much that I learned now about branding. And when the branding issue come into it, the whole scale changed. That now it's not about the sauce, it's not about me building from scratch, it's now you finding a bigger resources instantly to facilitate the sales, the potential sales that will come in.
From the brand.
So we just quickly turn into a licensing company. And I think that is a crucial thing to do with the business. It was now about the Levi Roots brand, not about reggae sauce.
Exactly.
Reggae sauce had now became just one sauce.
Under the brand.
Under the brand, in anything that I possibly could have wanted to put the brand name to, I could have put it to.
Exactly.
But the most important thing was the Levi Roots brand, and that was a big eye-opener for me.
Which reinforces the point that you were making earlier, you know, about persons wanting to buy a part of who the being is, that is the face of this product.
Yeah.
So once Levi Roots represents something which is positive within your mindset, and the product also have the quality to match that person, which is Levi Roots, the market will be there.
Yeah.
So it is important for people to realize that you are also the first marketer of your business. Your own relationship with people, you engage people, is a big part of that marketing process. So the network was crucial for the expansion.
Yeah, the network was crucial, but I think, to be fair, the mentorship I think that I got from the investor, I think, you know, that's one of the most wonderful things, because they didn't come in just as an investor. And I think this is where, you know, I think this thing about venture capitalists and people are afraid of these things. I think for me, it's clear to see that that's what worked for me. And I will always talk about big up venture capitalists now as something which is fantastic, but it depends on what you want out of it. I didn't want just the money.
Yes.
Because like I said, I quickly realized that the £50,000 that I got from the Dragons was like a drop in the ocean when it come to the demand for it.
Exactly.
Because now the £50,000 seems like nothing. But it was the mentorship from the Dragons, because the first thing that one of the investors did was make a call to his people and that he knows, to the company AB Royal Foods, and says, look, you know, we have the sauce here. You know, we need to turn this into a brand.
Yes.
You need to make the sauce and put it in the stores.
Exactly.
His second call was to the top shop in his friends in Sainsbury's, and Sainsbury's is perhaps the second biggest selling superstore in the UK. And Peter Jones, who was my investor, had known his friend, which was the chief of Sainsbury's, Justin King, and he called Justin and says, Justin, look, did you see the program of the Rastaman that was on there? Justin said, yes, him see it, and the rest is history. But it's the mentoring that I got from him, you know, and the support from your investor or your mentor, who it is. I think that's a crucial part in my movement. Any other thing, if he was an investor that just concentrated on the money, again, this wouldn't have worked. Exactly. But he decided to mentor me through the whole thing, showed me how to use the small thing of the £50,000 and put that aside as just a side stake.
Exactly.
But his experience that helped me to actually bring the brand to where it is now.
and now you're using your experience. So we have seen where through that mentorship and that networking, it aided in accessing the resources that were required, the additional resources for the expansion.
Which was crucial.
It also aids you in the actual implementation and the rolling out, because through the connections and the phone calls, they got it into the supermarkets, they got the products made to meet the demand.
Yeah.
Which is extremely important, because managing the growth.
Well, if I'd missed that demand there, I think that probably would have been a big mistake, because as with things on TV and people see you doing something, if they say they like it and they want it now, you have to give it to them now. You can't tell them you have to wait until me set up the factory and all these things like that. So the venture capitalist come in with his mentoring attitude to mentor me through it, and see that I think this was crucial for me to supply and demand.
Exactly. I mean, so now we have seen, because you have really gone through that process on the idea to the implementation. Of course, we recognize what the benefits are in terms of what you have generated, But again, based on your own work, we realize that as you generate more, not only through the SaaS, but through your shows and through different lecturers and through the expansion of the brand, you keep giving, you avail yourself for persons who want to learn from this experience. And so it says to me that there might have been some kind of shift or an amplification in your outlook as to what is the role of you as a person, as a business person. Is it about money, which apparently is not just about money?
I think that's a big question there, because again, sometimes you're clouded by the whole moment of things, but I think you need to realize who you are and what effect you're having on your business. In my case, which is a bit different, my business extends towards motivating people as well, because it was the first Caribbean brand that people were actually seeing growing on TV. As a matter of fact, when I was on it, it was these moments in UK history that strikes back to the 60s and 50s when a black man come on the TV, everybody start phoning around together. It was so strange, so strange. A black man up on TV and your phone rings and people and everybody are Yes, exactly. Because the news when I was on was that people start phoning around a Rasta man up on the TV and him look like the dragon, them are going to slay him. It was at the time when I was getting numbers wrong and I was sweating, and it was after the song card. The song was the first part. Everybody loved the song, it was cool, and the dragons them start tap them finger and everything looked nice. But when they started to dissect now the whole thing, my people that was watching the TV, Caribbean people, were now ringing around one another and saying the Rasta man up on TV and it looked like him going to lose. But what happened now, it was that people were really thinking that, because that's the stereotypical view. They'd never seen anyone like that. But the turnaround, when it turned around now, people actually say to themselves that, look, that's what life is about. You need to go through this tunnel to come out a better person at the other side. And now I realize that my role, to answer your question more precisely, my role is much bigger than any other brands that I can think of. People see it now as part of their lives. They were there with me, willing me on at the beginning, and they're still with me there now. But I think the crucial lesson in there is just be who you are. Because I still the same person. I still live in my same small flat that I've always lived in Brixton. I don't drive around, in flash cars or anything like that. I'm just Levi roots normally. And I think that's really important, because the people see you as one of them.
I think
as their entrepreneur.
But what is coming out was again, we understand how growing up in Clarendon is like, family, extended family situation.
Very important.
And there are certain things that are instilled in us by our grandparents. We have houses where we have very large palaces, that at any point in time somebody might come across it. So do always the sharing. Today we speak to those persons who don't only think about the profits of the business, but are really on a mission to empower people as social entrepreneurs, And as the business grow, we tend to invest in the growth of the people. And I've seen you doing that. I mean, in Jamaica, trying to support reggae music, because you're saying that reggae music was your first passion. That is something that you didn't have to do, but you're doing those kind of things. And I think it's something that is really instructive for us. But now when you look at the business itself, and the brand that you had created initially when you were creating this thing, what was in your mind? What are you saying to yourself when you ask yourself, who am I going to create this value for? How do we create this value? You create the value with the goods. Is it the extension, etc.? How do you create the value?
Well, the value was in it's got to be about myself.
Yes.
You know, that was the value, because again, I was saying that I wasn't trying to sell the sauce. I wasn't trying to sell the products at all. That's why I went with the guitar.
Exactly.
And that's why now the brand, if you look, it's still the music. If you look at the bottle, it's green, gold, and red. Of the label is Rasta, is Rastafari. Is the whole concept of it is Jamaica. The exact things that people were saying, don't do it. You know, it's too Jamaican, it's too black, and it's too Rasta. These are the three concepts that my business is based around.
Okay.
You know, because I think that is awesome. And if there's anybody out there who's doing, you know, a business or thinking to go into entrepreneurship, you need to be true to yourself.
Exactly.
I think it's Shakespeare saying that one has to be true to themselves. Because if you are true to yourself, people will see that. And even nowadays, we can't put everything on the brand. There are certain things that people will know that Levi Roots shouldn't have that in
Exactly.
So it's not like I can go ahead and do everything.
Exactly.
You know, it would be wonderful if this was a role like that you could do, but because of the integrity, which I put first, the integrity of the brand. Because when you look at it, if you know the concept of Rastafari, or if you know Jamaican in any way, the minute you look at the Levi Roots brand, there is no doubt that you will say what I'm trying to sell, or what I'm trying to get people to be buying into.
Exactly.
You know, and if that's the case, then I'm saying buy into Jamaica, buy into reggae, buy into Rasta. And if I can be the market leader in that, is fine. But I think now I need other competitiveness to come into the market, to be able to what Dennis Brown said, no man is an island.
Yes.
You know, and I think it's important now for us to come along and revel in those three things.
Exactly.
Because that's what I've proven it that people want this. Wants these three things.
So you're really creating value in a very unique way, because while you have the products that are there, really the value created is through the brand, and the brand is not only beneficial to Levi, because you know saying that the scaling is important, as open doors for other persons who have genuine
it's about the people.
Caribbean brand to move forward. So it means that the value creation was not just about, even if that started to look at the direct consumers who wanted the sauce after the interview, the market that you're targeting your product is not only about final consumers. What does the market look like?
Well, well, the value, as I said, is for those three things.
Yes.
Because that's what people are investing in. But as you're talking about where do we want to go with it, I think this is a message that the world would accept. Because, you know, us as a people here in Jamaica especially, I think brand Jamaica has always been something that we see value in, but I think that we've been afraid of brand Jamaica, of selling it abroad. I don't know why we've done that. I didn't buck up on it because I was any expert and thought about it or anything like that. I did it because that was me. And that was the best thing, that's all what I knew. But I really believe now that if I'm going to move forward with it now, the concept needs to change. It has to be about brand Jamaica and who we are, and that competitiveness has to come with that. Because I've proven that people want to buy into this concept. You know, people love this concept. But maybe we haven't been giving it to them in the way they've liked, because all of a sudden them see a nice smiley Rastaman coming out and talking when you see me on the TV cooking. You know, it's that, you know, persona I put across, you know, of who is me, and people are buying into that.
It's the liberty itself, you know.
Absolutely.
It's how one lives. So it's not something which is fictitious.
No,
it is
not
real.
at all. It's very well, Rastafarian, Jamaican, and reggae music is very real. You can't get no more realer than like that's what we are as a people. That's the biggest gift we have given to the world.
You
know, I know that we're famous for tourism, and back in the day it was backside and all these things that, you know, we've been good at over the years, that we've exported. But I think, you know, these things, Rasta, reggae, you know, and our Jamaicanism, these three things, you know, and our food too. Is our biggest export. We need to revel in that, and we need to sell them more.
The creative industries, Jamaica and the Caribbean are one of the biggest global footprint in terms of the creative industry. The business has done extremely well. I mean, you have pointed out clearly that our Caribbeanness, the networking, etc., gave you a competitive advantage. clearly have also highlighted that the difference, the unique selling point, that differentiation strategy is anchored again within our own Caribbeanness. And I think it is crucial, this is probably the first interview, because while we're speaking about a person whose organization is a brand that have so many products under the brand, it keeps coming back to accepting Caribbeanness. It gives you a competitive advantage. It makes your thing unique and different. I mean, the way you make money is phenomenal. It's not only just volume, but your product are very high. It's a high quality product as well, so the margins are not the same as regular products. The scope though, the size, time scope, size, ambition. Where do we see Levi Rose? I mean, it's already big, but of course there's no limitation. Where do we see
the extension of the brand now is crucial for us. You know, we had a business plan, and again, you know me already. I talk about business plan from now till tomorrow.
Exactly.
Because I think that is the most important tool that any young budding entrepreneur will have.
You need a plan.
If you don't have a plan, don't even bother start. You know, you need to get that plan first. And
is it a written plan, or you had
no, it's a written plan.
Yes.
You have to write everything down. It has to be a plan. But the plan is not a stayed plan. The plan changes as you go, as you go along. As soon as you get to the end of one plan and you achieve what you want to do, the plan changes. So we had a plan of 5 years to make the sauce the biggest selling brand in the United Kingdom and resist all temptations to take it abroad. Because as you can imagine, you know, I was getting temptation from Africa, you know, some coming in America, they will say America is the holy grail of business, and if he's not there, he's not doing everything. People were calling me from Russia, from everywhere on the globe, people were saying that get this, you know,
managing the growth of the business is crucial, yes.
And sticking to the plan.
Yes.
The crucial thing was just making sure that you stick to the plan, and we wanted to just complete that 5 years and resist the temptation to do it. Now that we've come to the end of that plan now, the first thing now was the extension now of the brand outside of the UK, and to take that same message, you know, of Rasta, reggae, and Jamaica to the world.
Exactly.
So now we've just recently launched in Canada. The next step that we're looking for is North America, and as you know, I've opened my store here in Jamaica, which for me, that's perhaps one of the greatest moves that I've made. You know, goose pimples come when I think about how I've brought the brand back home. Bearing in mind at the start of this interview, we talk about the barefoot boy from Clarendon who never wear shoes and things like that.
I think it's crucial to highlight this, because Jamaica is 2.5 million people, that per capita income of 8,500 US, which is not a big market for money to be made in terms of who you are and what the brand is internationally.
Yes, but the connection is crucial. It's crucial. Without that, you know, we always say if you don't bust a yard, you can't go bust a brand. So even though I knew that the brand was big in the UK, but that 5-year plan that stopped me from opening the business here and things like that had me worried, because I was thinking that when I got here, will my people here accept it? You know, because we know what life is about. You have to make the connection first. And for me, it was, how do I make that connection to say that, you know, I left here, you know, as a 12-year-old, now I'm in my 50s. It's a long time. Will people see this brand as a Jamaican brand? And that's a crucial thing, because I didn't bring it back here as a Jamaican brand. You understand me? I brought it back here as a Jamaican influence brand, because that's what I am. I am that jewel thing there. And I think it would be foolish if I was to bring it back and saying that it's quintessentially it. No. I think you need to sell it for what it is. What it is. And I think that's how I've managed to let people accept it. And, you know, it's been fantastic since I've opened the store.
It's always good to let the people recognize the value. You know? Because again, remember, it's food, you know. Jamaican and Caribbean people very picky about food. So the real food test is if when you go to a Jamaican event, whether it's Jamaica or elsewhere, and people say, yeah man, it tastes good. You also, you know, you have a real product. You know what I mean? It's important. I think it is crucial that you have emphasized that getting the brand, even with a big expansion into this very high growth enterprise, anchoring into where it has been the influence is very important. You know? But lessons learned. I mean, what would you consider to be probably your greatest impediment in moving forward? You seem not to have had so much, but in post the Dragon's Den, before the Dragon's Den, I know you have had some issues that you had to address. And then what would you say to these young people?
Well, you know, Dr. Knife, you touch on a part of it now that is like, you know, you call the solar plex, you know, the weak part of the body, you know, the solar plex is down here. So if you thump a man anywhere down here, him stop, him stop. And for me, that part was 1986, I remember. Couldn't focus. I had this great ability to do with the music, but being able to focus wasn't me at all. Always short-term focus. I couldn't focus long-term on anything, and I got in a lot of trouble. At one stage, the judge sentenced me to 9 years in prison in 1986. All my friends and my family thought I would never come back from that. Not me. I never doubted myself because I went in as a Rasta man. But the doubt from other people thinking that the sentence was so big, nobody had never got that sentence amongst my friends or anything like that. I was the first amongst a big clique of people. I was with a sound system called Sir Coxsone International.
Yes, I know Coxsone, yes.
Massive, and I was a singer, so I was really popular
in the heart of the music.
In the heart of it, I was just about to start, the group called UB40 I was just rising, and there was an opportunity for me to join. There was, we had a band, 3 of us, 2 on player and myself. And I was a bit of a bad boy at the time. Couldn't focus on the music, and my on players were, you know, the rest of the band were. So anytime you watch the videos with UB40, you see those 2 light-skinned guys, Patrick and Henry. They were in my band, we were together.
And you would have...
But when the band UB40 came to sign us up and to do everything like that, I was out, not being able to focus. So I ended up in trouble, and I was inside prison and seeing my 2 friends travel all over the world and doing all kind of fantastic things. And I asked my mom to buy me a guitar to bring inside of the prison. It cost her £500, and £500 to my mother at that time was a whole heap of money. But she loved her son, and she knew that I had wash belly, and she knew that I had a passion for music, and she brought me this guitar and bring it to the prison and gave. She brought the guitar and a book of Beatles songs that shows you how to hold the chords and them things there. I never had a teacher, but again, going back to my early days when I was saying of the scribe of Levi, I loved the book, I wanted to learn. I was a great learner. I taught myself to play, and I did my time, and I came out and I wrote about 4 albums. And the first album I recorded when I came out, I was nominated for a MOBO Awards with it. And a MOBO Awards, a bit like the Grammy. It's the UK version of the Grammy Awards. And for me, that was the turning point, because I went in prison as Keith.
I came out as Levi
that couldn't focus, and I came out as Levi Roots, and I think that was the start of the whole knowing who I am and accepting who I am by going through that metamorphosis of throwing away, you know, the persons that got you in trouble and throwing away that. I think we all need to do that. Not extreme as mine still, you know, and I wouldn't wish anybody to do that. But even if someone were in a relationship with a girlfriend that stops you from being to focus, or with a boyfriend that stops you from working to your potential, or if you were in a job for a few years that you felt it wasn't you and you needed to metamorphosize yourself and get out, that's how it is. Mine was different, and I think mine was thrown at me by the Father, because he see that you needed a whip and you needed to wake up. Because the change of my life after that sentence has been fantastic. So I would never disrespect what happened to me, and I don't think I would ever want to change it. I don't wish it, because the memory of it is terrible for me, what I went through there and everything like that. But it's the change of being who I am now. It's been a fantastic change, and that's when I realized who I am.
You mentioned it earlier, there are no such things as mistakes, you know? It's more feedback.
It's more feedback. Feed forward.
For youths who are coming up, and we must learn to really appreciate that. I mean, when people always speak of man knowing thyself from in Kemet, you know, we use examples of this, the scarab for the transformation, the examples of the cocoon and the butterfly. So always going through this kind of process of becoming more of self. And again, it speaks to the importance of the interview itself, you know, because this interview will help some youth to metamorphose, you know, those who thought that they have no other option except through the informal space or the informal legal space. You know, realize as Caribbean people that we are stronger than those things.
And you need to know what your tribulations are as well, because some people won't admit they have tribulations, because you have your home, everything is nice, you know, and you have a wonderful life and your thing. But if you are to go into yourself and dig deep, the reasons why you haven't made it, even though you have a great life and you're living it, you think, why haven't I made something of my life? What do I need to change? You know, that's your tribulation, but you don't really recognize it. If once you recognize that you're under some tribulation somewhere, you find what it is and you pinpoint it, it gives you a chance to make that change and to change it. But people will go through their life and not recognizing that because your life seems to be okay, you're going along fine, you're not poor, but you're not rich, you're just in the middle. But there's other things. You perhaps can even rise above and be better. But you need to find that pinpoint and be able to pursue.
Two final questions I have. Because again, we know that while things are on a trajectory which is positive, as you mentioned, things will always change in terms of your own brand and the business and what it has become. You know, people like to ask about exit strategy, and it doesn't necessarily mean just getting out of the business. But what would you see as your...
Wow. We've just started on a really big move as we were talking about the business plan and how the business changes and the plan change. The new business plan now is about restaurants.
Yes.
I'm just on the verge of creating what I think will be the biggest move for Caribbean food ever.
Yes.
In a chain of restaurants. We're looking to 30 to 40 big restaurants on the lines of TGI Friday or Nando's. We've just started the plan. That's really big because there isn't any of that, a chain of Caribbean restaurant around the world. So for us now, that's the second part of the business plan now, starting something else. And with that, we're looking at the exit plan for that. As I says, create 40 within 5 years or so, and then to exit out of that. But not exit totally, because the Levi Roots brand will always be there.
Exactly.
And I think if the Levi Roots name is there as the brand, that integrity of all the things that we spoke about, the Rastafarianism, the colors, the Jamaicanism, the Caribbeanism, everything will always be there. So it's not exiting out completely. If anything, is more retirement for me, you know, because I've had this glass to drink, you know, have a nice rum punch that I've been waiting to celebrate since slaying the dragons. But because the business plan has always been extended, I haven't managed to drink that rum punch as yet. So maybe when it'll get well right. So maybe at the exit of the restaurant idea, because I think that's when I'll be able to exit.
I think people realize the exit strategy doesn't mean to stop the business, but they can move from one stage into the next stage
with the business plan. Yeah, the business plan changes, and you change with the business plan as you go.
Finally, I mean, we have a set of youths today. We have to tell them as Generation X and Y, you know, those who are born between 1980 to 2000 and 2000 afterwards. And their unique thing is that they are born at a time and space and have instant access to information, instant access to the information. And so their mindset and how they are socialized are very different from many persons who make decisions today, which I find sometimes they are not as understanding of these young persons as we are, you know. But given your own experience out there and seeing how you have been there from the 1980s, and then you could see how the business landscape has changed with the accent and the advent of the internet, what would you say to these young people who are born in this time?
I think we need to use the opportunities that's there. People say to me all the time in the UK that, boy, Levi, we don't know where to get the money from, and there is no, you know, assistance for young people, for small to medium businesses and things. And I said, it's there. You just need to find it in this world of globalization where everything is available to us on a screen in front of us. We need to take charge of that.
Exactly.
We haven't been very good at that, you know, and I think it's now in time we excel ourselves on that. But it is there, you know. I have no doubt that anyone who has a penchant for being an entrepreneur, who has a dream or just has a feeling that I can do something that's in me, because that's what an entrepreneur is. The vibes is in you, and you just need to get it out. Sometimes you don't even have to have a shop to be an entrepreneur.
Exactly.
An entrepreneur don't even have to have an office.
Exactly.
If you think of an idea, you can think it starts there with you within itself. And the internet and the information in how to do this is there. Remember I was saying to you when I did my first labels, I didn't go to college and do it. I teach myself how to create a label and how to send an email when I started my business.
Yes.
Because as a musician before, I had manager and everybody that did everything for me.
Exactly.
When I started the sauce business, I didn't even know how to send an email myself. I had to go back to college and learn myself and actually teach myself, and saw that everything that I needed, even a business plan. If people will ask me, how do you start a business plan? I said, go on the internet and you will see many business plans come in front of you. All you need to do is just change the wordings and the name to suit how you is. So there's no excuse for anyone out there saying that they can't get the money. Because again, if you go on there and you look good enough, you will see many places who's giving startups and giving ideas and all kind of things, mentorship and all this kind of stuff. No one can tell me that says them can't find information. Go to the internet cafe or whatever it is and be able to get on there, or ask around. Find yourself a mentor. Go to the businesses that you have been investing in all your life and speak to somebody. To the corner shop, because again, mentor is not just about venture capitalists and all these kind of things like that. Mentorship could be coming from just the man in your community who's done well, who just had a business that can give you some vibes of how you can get yourself straight. So it's all there. So when people tell me that they can't find this and they can't find that, and because nobody wants to know, I say, because you're not looking at it.
One final thing, you know what I mean? And I know you do have a guitar.
Yes.
But I've heard the tune, you know?
Yes.
No, I mean, the students have to, we don't go online to look at the YouTube.
Yes.
But at least...
Yeah, man. Ready? All right. It's so nice, I had to name it twice. I call it reggae sauce. Hot reggae sauce. So nice with your fried chicken. Make burgers finger licking. On your barbecue, on your drumsticks, just put some reggae sauce on your lips. Yeah.
Love you, Virgin. Good times.
Yeah, man.
Good times. You know, let me just really talk about brother again, you know, when that called me key, Levi roots, and let us think about the transformation that took place. He argued that post the 1986 incident, he was out, not focused, and that incident helped him to anchor himself, and you know, the anchoring comes out in the name. It was no longer key, but Levi roots representing that which anchors one to self, and the journey has been good. The experience shared has also been really great, you know. One thing that stands out from the discussion so far is confidence in self, accepting one's own Jamaican and Caribbean-ness, you know, and being entrepreneurial, recognize that even when the masses might disagree with your idea, it is that difference, that uniqueness that makes your thing stands out and become more competitive. And that is who we are as Caribbean people. We are very unique beings, and it reflects in the way we dominate the things that we truly participate in where we show whom we are. The sports, the culture, the music, the dance, and of course with the help of Levi and many other persons in the diaspora, they know that Caribbean people are also the best in their entrepreneurial pursuits. So give thanks again. I mean, inspirational.
That's the far right.